Good morning. We have lots to get through today. I'm really excited about this, so let's get cracking. For those of you who don't know me, well, this is me. My name's Peter Chapp, and I'm not sure when that photo was taken, but I do remember that bike, and I absolutely loved that bike. I used to spend all day riding around my parents' back garden, and my mum used to have to literally drag me in at the end of the day because I was just having so much fun on it. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because most days I feel like I'm riding that bike every day. I'm just having the most fun. I honestly feel like I have the best job in the world. Now, the reason for this is because of what I do every day. And I just thought I'd share a little bit of that with you because I think it provides some useful backdrop to today's discussions around agency benchmarking. So 14 years ago, I co-founded an accountancy firm called Wow. And we had a mission back then, which hasn't changed even in 14 years. Even though the world's changed and our business has changed and technology has changed, our mission is still the same. We're passionate about helping or making it easy for entrepreneurs to build beautiful businesses. Businesses that are profitable, sustainable, do good in the world, that look after their people, look after their clients. And over time, we've become specialists in working with agencies. We work with nearly 500 now across the country. We work with the small guys. So turnover anything up to 5 million is where we typically work. And in the last 14 years, I've been constantly fascinated by the difference between those clients that make it big, that sell out for millions, and those that just find it a challenge. And I've made it my mission to, I guess, try and find out the formula, the secret formula, you know, for success. Why is it that these one group can achieve so much and the other group can really find it a struggle? And what I have learned is that there's no magic formula. Unfortunately, that's a shame, isn't it? But there are lots and lots of things that you can do that will massively increase your chances of success. I've interviewed these top performing agencies. I've spent time looking at their accounts. And what I'll be sharing with you today is some of the traits of the top performing ones. Now, this quest to find the top, or I guess the essence of what success looks like, led me to do something about 6 years ago. You know, our clients were starting to come to us and ask questions about how they were performing in relation to others. And so we decided to benchmark them. And we started a little survey called BenchPress. And it was really small in the early days. I think we only had 100 people take part, and we produced something like an 8-page report. But the results were fascinating, and people were absolutely intrigued as to how they were performing against their competitors. And they were using this, I guess, as ammunition to go back to clients and talk to them about fees. They were using it as a catalyst to bring about positive change in their business, and they wanted more of it. And so what started off as a really small survey 6 years ago has now grown to become the largest survey of independent agencies in the UK. We had 500 agencies take part this year, and a massive thank you to everyone who took the time to complete that survey. You've helped make today possible, because if no one completes the survey, then I've got nothing to talk about. So a massive thank you to everyone who's taken part. Now, the third bit of my job was started 5 years ago. So I noticed that the agencies that we were working with were coming to us with the same challenges around not just finance and cash flow and profitability, the sort of things that we help with at Wow, but things around hiring talent and managing talent and winning work, well, winning the right type of work, and just managing the whole kind of roller coaster ride of running an agency. And so I came up with this idea to bring a small group of agencies together and provide a support network, and that's grown to become now the largest support network for agencies in the UK, for agency owners. It's a group called the Agency Collective. It's exclusively for agency owners, and we've got hundreds of members now across the UK. We've got incredible groups in Edinburgh and Manchester and London and Bristol. And the reason why I feel like I'm the guy on the left riding the bike is because I get to hang out with agencies all the time, listening to your stories, finding out what works and what doesn't. And it's just such a fascinating time to be an agency owner, and I just can't wait to share some really interesting insights with you today. So that's the backdrop. Let me just provide a little bit more context to this, because we're really passionate about benchmarking, and I know looking at the number of people, we've had 200 people booked on this webinar, you guys are too. So I just wanted to share a little bit about our vision for where this is going, why we're doing it. So what I'd love to give you is the ability to do your own personal benchmarking. And for that, we need agencies taking part in our survey. We had 500 take part this year. And if we can get to 1,000, then we can do some really cool stuff. We can do some benchmarking, or allow you to benchmark yourself by region, by size of agency, and by type of agency. You know, wouldn't it be great if you're an SEO agency with 10 staff in Edinburgh, to be able to compare yourself to other similar sized businesses in your region? Or if you're an animation studio in Bristol, or if you're a full service agency in London, wherever it is that you are, whatever size you are, I would love to be able to give you the ability to benchmark yourself specifically against your peers. Now, to do that, we need more agencies taking part. To make it statistically significant, we have to have 100 agencies of every particular size. So we can, at the moment, for example, split agencies into certain size categories. We can do London versus the rest of the UK, but there's not quite enough yet to do that very specific regional analysis, or do a bespoke analysis based on type of agencies. But you can help to achieve that for yourself. If you haven't yet taken part in the survey, you can still do that. You can go to benchpress.uk.com, you can enter your details, and you can also tell your friends about this, because there are 20,000 agencies in the UK. Getting just a tiny percentage of them, 1,000, to take part, surely has to be possible, because if we can do that, then you're going to get some incredible value out the other end. So the plan for today, let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to run through the report. Hopefully you've all seen the report. You can do that yourself. What I'm really, really excited about is giving you something extra. So we're very fortunate at WOW to have a guy called Tom work with us. Tom's a data analyst and has spent the last few weeks working intensively with me to analyze the data that we have, to go much, much deeper behind the results. So the headline results you can see in the report. Today, I will take it to the next level and provide some further insights. This is your opportunity as well to ask some questions. On the right-hand side of your screen in your GoToWebinar dashboard, if you're watching this live, you can type your questions as we go. And at the end, I will do my best to answer them. I can't promise, but I had so much fun when we did this last year. We spent a long, long time answering the questions. And as we go through, if something pops in your head, it doesn't necessarily need to be about what we're talking about today. It could be anything relating to benchmarking or profitability or growing your agency. More than happy to field those questions, and I will do my best to answer them all. So a bit of backdrop for you before we get into the nitty-gritty. Now, agencies are thriving. This is a great time to be an agency owner. Agencies grew revenue by more in 2017 than in any year since the recession. We've got data going back all the way to the recession. And when you look at these stats, I think it's really interesting. 73% grew by more than 5%, and that's significantly up from last year, where it was just 66%. Now, if you're growing by more than 25%, by the way, you're doing, well, you're going great guns. You know, that's quite a pace of growth. And by the way, these growth rates, I thought they just, when I was doing my analysis, I thought they'd just apply to the little guys. I thought, well, you know, it's easy to grow, or easier to grow a £250,000 agency by 25% than it is a £2 million agency by 25%, because the numbers just get bigger at that point. But you know what? These growth rates almost apply universally across the board. Agencies, small, medium, and large, are thriving. And to get a third of agencies growing by more than 25% in a year is absolutely stunning results. However, there's a massive caveat to this, which is, I don't think turnover growth is the game here. I think there's something much bigger, much better at stake, and that's to make sure that we have profitable and sustainable growth. I've seen agencies grow at 25% year on year and then go bust. There are so many almost graveyard zones for agency growth, where you've got to be so careful that as you grow, you put these systems and the infrastructure, particularly the financial infrastructure, in place. And if you don't, then you could be in real trouble. And part of that financial infrastructure, as well as looking at cash flow, has to be making sure that you have a profitable and sustainable business model. And before you go rushing off and achieving growth, I think most agencies that I see out there are better off stopping what they're doing some analysis and thinking, and moving away from this rushing around mentality that we have. You know, life is frenetic and seems to be getting faster. And what that can lead to is just blind chasing of growth. And that can be dangerous. So my hope is that today I can stop you in your tracks and get you thinking about how you can build something profitable and sustainable. And when it comes to profit, we often get asked the question, well, how much should I be making as an agency? And this year, because we had so many taking part, we were able to split down those net profit percentages by size of business. So you can see that as turnover increases, the net profit percentage reduces. Now, there's a reason for this. The overheads of a £2 million business are very different to a £250,000 business. In a £250,000, you don't need an IT department, a HR, you don't need office management, business support, all of those types of things, which you do clearly need at 2 million. You have way more non-chargeable heads. But the other thing that happens on this agency growth journey is your revenue per head. So that's your revenue divided by your number of chargeable heads. That increases as you get bigger. So, and that, by the way, it's really important that it does, because if it doesn't and you're adding overheads, then you're going to get squeezed. You're going to be well below that 16% average, these average figures that you can see on the screen, at £1 million plus. So I just want to show you, just for those of you who are not familiar with revenue per head, it's a pretty sort of standard industry measure. You take your fee income less, which is turnover, less your direct costs. So any things like media spend just comes out of it. So you've got your fee income, and you divide it by the number of chargeable members in your team. Now, if you have someone who's half chargeable, then you count them as half a person. And you can't cheat this, by the way. You can't say, well, we've got 4 full-time freelancers, they don't count as chargeable members. Well, they're pretty much full-time, and you're using them, or the equivalent of 4 full-time. You might have 6 doing 3/4 of the time. But if you've got the equivalent of 4 full-timers, you have to count them as chargeable members. Now, you take the first figure, divide it by the next figure, and that gives you revenue per head. This is what it looks like as you grow. So up to £250,000 of revenue per head is £40,000. The next tranche up to £1 million is 62, and then £1 million plus is 83. The holy grail for agencies is £100,000 revenue per head. In simple terms, you've got £1 million business, 10 chargeable heads, then £100,000 revenue per head. Only 5% of agencies actually make it to that point, but it's a really good simple measure, kind of finger in the air measure. You could all, hopefully, you can do this now in your heads. Well, hang on, yeah, I'm this level of turnover, how many chargeable heads? It's a very, very good indication of profitability. I can ask, the question of turnover and number of chargeable heads, and very, very quickly work out whether or not you're profitable as an agency, and you can too. And I think that the challenge is to yourself, before you go hiring that next member of the team, say, okay, hang on a minute, how can we make what we have more profitable? I see so many agencies just blindly hiring people. We need this, because the team say we're busy. Of course the team say that they're busy. Work will always expand to fill time. The most successful agencies, the smartest ones, the most profitable ones, will do capacity analysis. We'll say, hang on a minute, well, we're paying you a £30,000 a year salary. How much work should you be doing? And let's work back from that. We look at our number of chargeable heads and try and work out a metric that helps us work out capacity rather than just blindly hiring. Now, obviously, when it comes to increasing profit, a key determinant of this is pricing. And I was asked a really interesting question by a client of ours. A shout out to Alistair McNeil from Cohesion Digital up in Scotland. And he asked, quite rightly so, he said, look, I've been reading your reports for a while now, and the average hourly rate seems to be static. It seems to be stuck at £80 an hour. And yet agencies are saying that they're increasing their prices. And he's absolutely right. On average, year on year, we've been tracking it year on year, over half, about 55%, plan on increasing prices. And yet the average hourly rate remains static. How can this be so? What's going on? So a really good question from Alistair, which led me to do some research, and I have the answer. Now, what's happening is, in our industry, there is an incredibly low barrier to entry for new agencies to be set up. And right now, right this minute, there are employed people handing in their notices at agencies across the country to go freelance or even to set up their agency. But the freelancers will suddenly find themselves 12 months down the line in an office with 4 or 5 other members of the team and think, crikey, we're running an agency. How did that happen? So it's so easy to get set up in business. And what these smaller agencies are doing is they are dragging down the average hourly rate. So let me explain. There is a correlation between amount of years in business, number of years in business, and hourly rate. So you can see how the average hourly rate goes from 75 up to 102, depending on the number of years that you are in business. In fact, and I love it when this happens, I can't tell you how many graphs and scatter diagrams we have looked at to kind of come up with this correlation. But when it happens like this, it's just beautiful. Here's how it works. Roughly, the average hourly rate starts off at about £75 an hour, and these are very rough averages. And then if you add £1 for each year that you are in business, it kind of works out roughly about right. Now, there's a couple of things here. So the averages are dragged down heavily because there are so many small businesses, small agencies out there. And, that's fine. But the thought of waiting 25 years to get to £100 an hour, oh my goodness. If any of you were sat there thinking, that sounds a long time, you're absolutely right. It's way too long. We have to find a way to shortcut that journey for agencies. And of course, so much of pricing is around confidence. And I've got a tip at the end that will help you on that journey to increase your pricing. Now, there's also a correlation between hourly rate and turnover. And it's kind of split into 3 bands. We noticed when we did our research that, under a £500,000 turnover, the average hourly rate tends to be around about £75 an hour. And then when you go into the next tranche, £500,000 to £2 million, it goes up to 85. And then the big guys over 2 million are charging £100 an hour. And again, right, I want to challenge you on this. If you are under 2 million turnover business, you don't do any less good work than the guys at 2 million and above. So why can't you go charging those fees now? What's stopping you? What is getting in your way? I want you to be really truthful to yourself. Like, you don't do average work, so why are you charging below average fees? What can you do to get there? This shows a really interesting trend, and it's a theme that I'm going to run throughout this webinar today, and it's around the journey, the agency profit journey. As agencies go through this journey, there are a number of things that happen along the way that increase their chances of success, that increase their profitability, and I just want to share them with you. They come in a number of categories. So we're going to look at how agencies price and what happens on that journey. We're going to look at attitude to charging. We're going to look at size of projects. And then finally, I'm going to tell you how to shortcut this journey. So it's worth hanging around until right at the end. Now, how agencies price, really interesting. We did some more detailed analysis in this year's survey, and we discovered that 62% use a blended rate versus 38% that use tiered pricing. Now, just to explain the difference between the two. A blended rate is when you take all the people in your agency and charge them out at exactly the same rate, £80 an hour, £100 an hour. And obviously this works tremendously well in smaller agencies because it's simple. It's really, really simple to administer. You don't need a spreadsheet. You just work out how long the job's going to take and times it by 80, times it by 85, times it by 100, whatever it is your hourly rate. So that's blended. Now, tiered pricing requires a little bit more effort, a little bit more work, and obviously works well where you have different people at different levels of skills expertise. So you might charge your senior people at £120 an hour, mid-tiers at 100, juniors at 80, for example. Now, something interesting happens at £1 million turnover. So at £1 million turnover, those percentages flip. Not flip completely, but over 50% you will find using tiered pricing once you get above million. And the longer you go on that journey, the way more likely agencies are going to use tiered pricing. Now, the thing is, these guys make more money. They make more profit. And the reason they make more profit is because what tends to happen with blended rates is, look, it's fine when you start up your agency and there's two of you and you're both the same level of expertise, easy. But what tends to happen is the blended rate tends to just get anchored ever so slightly by the junior members of the team. Oh, we can't charge ourselves out at this high level because, you know, we've got a couple of graduates in, and you miss out on the opportunity to charge yourselves out as the owners at the premium level, and in charge yourself, you know, your senior employees out at the premium level. Now, once you get to $1 million, what tends to happen is agencies wake up to this fact and go, hang on a minute, I'm missing a trick here. I can charge our senior people out at a much higher level. And this isn't just about charging the people who cost you more out at a higher level. It's the value that they add to your clients. These people are making an astonishing difference to your clients. If you're doing, you know, high-end strategy work and consulting, design, stuff that they can't get elsewhere, then you should charge a premium for it. So agencies that use tiered pricing make more money, and you don't need to wait to the £1 million tipping point to do this. You could flip to this tomorrow. And if you're thinking, gosh, it's, you know, a bit complicated, well, just start with one type of premium rate. Take you as the agency owner and charge yourselves out of a premium, and maybe keep the other rate for the rest of the business. But that extra 10 or 20 pound an hour, whatever it is that you decide, could make a real difference to, will make a real difference to your bottom line at the end of the day. Now, the really interesting thing about tiered pricing is you'll see, as soon as you see these numbers come up on the screen, why they make more money than the average hourly rate of 80 pounds an hour if you use a blended rate. Look at, by the way, when we look at this data, we split it into the bottom 25%, the average, and then the top 25%. So the bottom 25%, you can see those charge out rates. You can see like even the average, they're only charging juniors out at £70 an hour. Everything else is either at the average or above the average of the blended rates. So you can see why tiered pricing beats blended rates when it comes to profitability every day of the week. Now, those of you who've seen me talk before, you know, averages are great for giving you a little benchmark, but as soon as you've got that number in your head, I want you to forget it. Don't aim to be average. You are not average, and you should be aiming here, the top 25%. This is what the top guys charge, and these are the guys that are making the most money. So is there any reason why you can't be up there? What's holding you back from increasing your prices to that level? And again, I will explain a little bit about how you can shortcut that journey to those rates and beyond. There's no limit to this. The only thing holding you back is your own confidence. I chatted to, it's a client this week, $4,500 a day they charge themselves out at. They are at 100% capacity. $4,500 a day. Nice. I can't even think what, well, the hourly, you can work out the hourly rate on that, but it's off the scale. It's possible. What's possible for you? I'm just gonna have a sip of water, bear with me. Oh, that was a gulp of water. Man, I'm thirsty. Right. So how agencies price. This changes as agencies grow and go on this profitability journey. I want to chat to you about fixed pricing versus agile. So we asked the question, how do agencies price? And the options were, do you price on time and materials? Do you do a licensing model? Do you do based on performance? Or do you do fixed or agile? And there's a really interesting thing happening. So fixed pricing is when you say, look, we're going to charge you 20 grand to do this project, and it's fixed and it's scoped. And like, that's fine and good, but there's real challenges with that in a world where clients change their mind, in a world where technology evolves quite quickly and events happen very, very quickly. It's really tricky to scope out a large project that isn't simple and templated and nice and easy and ring fenced, because it happens over a period of time. And also you're trying to scope something out where you don't really know the client fully, and you don't really know all the little quirks about how they're going to be during this project. So I see more and more agencies moving to this agile approach where they'll say, look, the total cost of this project isn't going to be 20 grand. It's going to be somewhere between 15 and 25. And by the way, this is what you'd get for 15 roughly, and this is what you get for 20 roughly, and this is what you get for 25. But we don't know exactly whether it's going to be a 15 or a 25 grand project, because we need to do these bits first. And we can price this first stage, the discovery stage, or I don't know, the wireframing stage, or the creative stage, whatever it is that is your first stage in your process. We can price that stage very clearly, and we can give you a fixed quote for that. And then once we've done that phase, then we can work out whether this is going to be a 15, a 20, or a 25 grand project. I see more and more agencies moving to that approach, and it's working for them. They, on average, make 4% more net profit than those that have a fixed model, because fixed, if you get it right, you have the opportunity to make loads of money. Because you can genuinely charge based on value, and if you're slick with your project management and you're strict with clients, there's real opportunities to make big profits. But the downside risks are huge. I've seen agencies go bust because they've not scoped things out properly. They've signed up to something that's fixed, and then they felt compelled to deliver it. Even halfway through the project, they know it's going to cripple them, and yet they persevere. Like, I don't know, a polar explorer walking towards what he knows is almost his certain death. And by the way, if you've been in business a while, you'll probably be smiling knowing that you've been on that walk before. You've been on those projects. Look, you don't have to do that. You can break it down into chunks. You can give yourself options with the client. And it's probably better for the client too as well, you know, to have that flexible model. And look, it's better for your bottom line too. There's really clear evidence that says that. Now, there's also a link between earnings and hourly rate, which I just think is really interesting. So by the way, if you're wanting to earn more in your business, and I don't know many of the people on here that wouldn't, then you're going to need to increase your hourly rate. And in fact, there seems to be a tipping point around about the £5,000 a month level of earnings and £100 an hour. So, you know, most agencies earning £5 grand a month or less will be charging under £100 an hour. Those between up more than £5 grand tend to charge more. It's really, really interesting when you look at all of these dots on a scatter diagram to see the clusters around there. So I just think that's a nice correlation. And again, another reason, as if you needed one, to really look closely at not just your hourly rate, but also how you price. Now, this is another interesting journey that agencies go on. All around confidence. So much of this is around confidence in your business, and perhaps the lack of confidence in the early stages and then watching it build. But we asked a question this year: do you charge for everything that you do? And this is what agencies said. And what I was really shocked was so many of us are giving stuff away for free. So we asked questions around which particular bits of the work that you do you give away for free? 40% of agencies do project scoping, but don't charge for it. They give that away for free. 9% of agencies give their project management time away for free. And 27% of agencies give their account management time away for free. Why? Why would you do that? It is hard enough making money in a business, in your agency, when you charge for everything you do. It's really, really hard to do it when you're not charging for this stuff. And if you're sat there thinking, yeah, Pete, you're probably right, I want to give you an extra incentive, because this is the page from the report that you'll see. What you can't see in the report is what happens to these guys' net profit percentages. Now, those that charge for this stuff make, on average, 8% more net profit. 8%, that is huge, like absolutely huge. Most agencies would kill for an extra 1 or 2 percentage points. If you're giving us stuff away for free, on average, you're missing out on 8% of your net profit. I couldn't believe it when I saw the graph. Again, it's one of those lovely moments when you do your statistical analysis, when you kind of go, ha ha, amazing. Love it when that happens. We've spent so much time looking for these. It's wonderful when it comes off. So a clear message. I just want you to think about that, what 8% extra net profit would do in your agency. Then think about what you're not charging for and how you could get the confidence to charge for it. Often it just starts with putting it out there. Say we charge for project management, we charge for scoping. Why wouldn't you charge for these things? And why would you want to work with a client that isn't willing to pay for these things? Isn't willing to pay for project management to be done properly? Bloody hell, that sounds like a nightmare. Isn't willing to pay for the project to be scoped properly? Okay, good luck with that one, guys. So have the conversation up front, and then fast forward 6 months, look what it will do to your net profit. This agency growth journey and the profit journey as you grow is there's something interesting happens around project values. So some headline stats around project values for you. The average project value here in the UK for UK agencies for the small guys under 5 million turnover is £12,000. What's really interesting is, you know, at the top end, only 2% of agencies win £1 million plus project. But at the smaller end, more and more agencies, this is up from 50% a couple of years ago, more and more agencies just aren't bothering with these little projects. You know, they're not getting out of bed for less than £5,000 because they know that, well, let's think of it this way, a 50 grand project is not 10 times the work of a £5,000 project. There's still so much kerfuffle that goes in with a £5,000 project that, you know, well, over half of you just wouldn't bother. And when we've done our analysis on the traits of the top 10%, this is the top 10% of agencies in the UK by profitability, not any other measure. I'm only interested in profitability here. This is what we discovered. Some of you will have seen this slide before. I just wanted, if you have seen this before, I just want you to challenge yourself on how you're doing on this journey and what more you could be doing. So 65%, this is the traits of the top performing, most profitable agencies in the UK right now. 65% of these have won projects in excess of £250,000 versus a 19% average, right? So on average, 1 in 5 agencies across the UK have won a project in excess of £250,000. Amongst the most profitable, that is disproportionately higher, like much, much higher. 2/3 have won those big projects. Now, minimum project value of 10 grand. Again, roughly 1 in 5 won't get out of bed for less than 10 grand. Well, that is disproportionately higher amongst the most profitable. 60% just won't entertain projects less than 10 grand because they know that it's really, really hard to make money. Really hard to make money. You only need a small thing to go wrong and your profit has been obliterated. In fact, you're making a loss. You're working for free. So just think about that and think about your journey. How can you edge this up? How could you win higher value projects? What do you want to start saying no to that's going to really help you move along this path? The final trait of the top 10% by profitability was they all track time on projects, and no surprise there. But if you really want to get to grips with the project management in your business and where time's leaking away, you need to start doing that. And there's loads of tools that can help you do it. You know, I'm a big fan of live project reporting. I see so many agencies make the mistakes. So they say, yeah, we've got a great project management system. Do you timesheet? Yeah, we do that 100%. Great. What reports do you look at? Well, every month we look at our completed jobs and we see whether they've been profitable. And I hold my head in my hands and I think, that's too late. That is way too late. Why are you waiting till the end of the project to review whether or not you've made money? This should be live. You should look at it every week and you should share it with your team. And I talk a lot about dashboards and the importance of having both leading and lagging indicators on those dashboards. And, you know, a leading indicator, well, most people have lagging indicators like how much money we made, how much money we have in the bank. They tell you, that's a history book. That's a history lesson. That tells you what has happened. I'm interested, as well as that, in what's going to happen, and you should be too. You know, what are the key leading indicators in your business when it comes to profitability? Again, if you need, I could talk all day about this, so conversation for another time perhaps, but really passionate about helping agencies put these dashboards in place. And there's, you know, if you're not using Xero, and most agencies are, if you're stuck on Sage or QuickBooks or spreadsheets, I mean, please no. Seriously, check out Xero. It's been around for a decade now. It's kind of old news, but if you're not on it, you should feel really guilty about not at least checking it out. It's going to make your life so much easier. And there's a new tool, used to be called Crunchboards, now changed to Futurely. We're using it with our clients, just helping them put dashboards together, helping our clients forecast, and it's something that you can check out yourself. So go and take a look at Futurely. It could really help you with this. And if you need help with Futurely and Dashboards and Xero, then obviously get in touch with us. Now, I promised you that I would share with you how to shortcut your journey. We're coming up to question time now, so if you do have any questions, then I'm going to start answering them soon. But I promised you I would tell you how to shortcut your journey. So much of this is around confidence and pricing and moving up to the next level. But there's another bit of the jigsaw, and that is to get niche, right? Something I want you to be thinking about constantly is this: what can I be the best in the world at? What do I want to be famous for? So this concept of being the best in the world is really important. You can't charge premium pricing if you are just the same as everyone else or look the same as everyone else. And you know that this is a big challenge for agencies. I see hundreds and hundreds of websites of agencies, and I look at them and I think, okay, well, what are you famous for? How are you going to stand out from the hundreds of other agencies that are out there? What can you be the best in the world at? And this challenge to be the best in the world at something will lead you on the path to greater profitability. It will lead you on a path to increased pricing. And there's so many stories out there. And by the way, the answers are right underneath your noses, right underneath your noses. So, I was chatting to a client the other day, and I was challenging him on this. And Alex, if you're listening, sorry about that, but it was with really good intentions. But what we discovered was they have a niche with universities, and they have a particular offering that is like highly relevant for university, and they've got some incredible case studies, and these universities pay really well. And I'm like, why aren't you focusing on them? How many universities are in the country? And we worked out how many there were, and you could actually write down the marketing managers. You can target the marketing managers of these universities and become famous in this area, organize events in this area, put out content in this area, get focused. It's a key word, get focused, and everything becomes easier. So the challenge when I speak to most people is they don't want to let go. They say, well, surely, trying to take the whole market, I want to just be an agency for everyone. I want to work with small businesses and big businesses in every sector, and the bigger the market, the easier that will be. It's not. It's harder because there's no focus. As soon as you focus and say, do you know what? I'm going to focus on this sector. I'm going to get brilliant at this sector. And I've got a specific offering that I have for this sector. You've got a chance to be the best in the world, like literally the best in the world. You've got a chance to take what you do around the globe and say, hey, we are the best in the world at this. That's my challenge to you. What could you be the best in the world at? What can you get niche at? Have a look at your client base. What do you already have? 5, 10, 15, 20 projects that you could sort of anchor your niche around? Or as one of our lovely clients did, they were just fed up, and I think the team are fed up of just working on boring projects. So they got involved. They said, look, we're really passionate about craft beer. Let's be honest, who isn't? We all have a craft beer. And they got involved in that particular world. And not only just doing work for that world, but making a huge difference in that world, setting up communities. And suddenly it doesn't feel like work anymore. So what could you get really passionate about? What could you get excited about? Your team get excited about, and go on this journey? Because, it's probably one of my favorite stories. And, I love these guys. I've worked with them for a long, long time now. I don't know how many years. But a big shout out to Alan and Alex from Alive with Ideas. And they went on a journey from doing local websites for local people at a very low hourly rate and finding it a huge challenge, to now being genuinely the best in the world at internal comms for certain types of businesses. And that journey has been wonderful to watch. And by the way, check them out, Alive with Ideas. They're an incredible business. And I promise you, they're a very different business to where they were 7 years ago. And their journey has been fascinating. But they made a decision: we're not going to be like everyone else. We want to be the best in the world in something. They focused on a particular offering that they were passionate about. They had a track record in, and they moved from doing local websites for local people to being the best in the world. Amazing story. The journey doesn't stop here. I just want to encourage you to see this as the start of something. And by the way, it's a never-ending journey, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I've been doing this for 14 years. I'll still be doing it in 14 years time, and yeah, I can't wait to share the 20th version of bench press with you. And God knows whether we'll be doing it by webinars or holograms or virtual reality headsets by then. But this is the start of your journey, and if you want to continue it, I encourage you to go to benchpress.uk.com, enter your details into there, get part of the incredible community of businesses that are sharing with each other and sharing their data with each other anonymously, and allowing each other to do stuff like this. Now, by entering your data, what we hope to do once we've got enough people taking part is give you the opportunity to do year-on-year comparisons. Wouldn't it be amazing to look at how your net profit percentage, your revenue per head, your earnings have changed year on year? That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? And then compare yourself to other agencies, sort of live benchmarking. That I know you can kind of do it with a report, but that's static. My vision is that we can give you something live and interactive. That would be super cool. And then also, I want to give you the opportunity to ask benchmarking questions. So these are all things that are coming in the future. But what we need to start on that journey to 1,000, and if you can help with that, that would be amazing. There's loads more profit insights that I can share with you, and there's a few ways that you can get them. So twice a year, we run an agency profit program. This is one of the most impactful projects that we've ever run at WOW. We take 8 agency owners, and only 8 each time. This is super exclusive, so only 16 agencies actually get to go on this program, and it sells out every time. So the 8 lucky folk that are joining me on this next stage of the journey start on Tuesday. We take you through a 5-part program that will completely explode the profits that you make in your agency. So this one's sold out. The next one will sell out. They always do. And just keep an eye on your emails in October. If you want to get ahead of the game, then get in touch with us and maybe just drop an email and say, look, can you doubly make sure that I'm on that email and put me on the list. We just to let you know, we make sure we interview everyone who comes on the program to make sure that you're right for it. But it's incredible, and I personally can't wait to get started. It's a real journey of discovery, and what's cool about it, by getting 8 people together, you get to share loads of great ideas and experiences. We also do profit reviews, so bespoke profit reviews. So one of the incredible WOW team who do this all the time at agencies can go in, poke around, challenge you, and look for ways to increase your profitability. And we can also help you put together dashboards. So if you take a look at Futrli and think, oh, this is cool, but then in the next thought you think, oh, it's also quite complicated, I need some help putting it together, then we can help with that. A really good guide to know is Rory. A lot of you will have seen Rory at either WOW events or Agency Collective events. There's his email. He's the guy that can unlock the profit for you and signpost you to the various parts of the business that can help. So I recommend you getting in touch. Before we move to the questions, I just want to say thanks so much for joining me here today. Thanks so much again to everyone who's taken part in the benchmarking exercise. And also, I meet hundreds of you at events. I'm off in Manchester tonight to see a load of agencies at Agency Collective in Manchester. And I just want to say thanks for you guys for inspiring me every single day. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing your challenges. And you put a smile on my face every single day. And whilst my mum doesn't shout at me and tell me to come in because I'm playing my bike anymore, I do feel like I somehow at times have to be sort of dragged in from the work I do, because it's utterly joyous. And thank you for making it so. It's really cool that you've been part of that.